Hey everyone, welcome to WLBT's Facebook Live Ask the Experts. I am Martina Barksdale, your host for today, and I am joined by one of my favorite guests, Lee Garland of the Garland Group, eXp Realty. For more information, you can go to leewillbuyit.com, and the number is 601. Sorry, y'all, I had a little chime in there. My apologies, but the number is 601-983-1130. Thank you for joining me again, Lee.
It's good to be here again. I enjoy doing these shows. It's a lot of fun for me. So I'm excited to see what the viewers, listeners have for us today.
Yes, and if you have any real estate related questions, please drop them in our comment section on Facebook, and we'll get to those later. We'll jump right into it. So, Lee, what is the big misconception home sellers have about the marketing plan that agents use?
Well, most home sellers think that agents all do the same thing. They think that we're all just alike, that we're going to put their house in MLS and a sign out front and maybe even a lockbox on the door. And that's all we do. And we just wait for somebody to come and buy the house. And now, granted, today's market is so fast that that may be all that it takes. But what if that doesn't happen? And so, yeah, a good agent, a great agent, is going to bring in professional photographers to come in and do high definition photos. They're going to do virtual tours, even drone footage, create videos. So and even we do a customized website for the property so that when we're marketing to the masses. We don't want to leave any stone unturned. We want to make sure we reach as many people as possible, and we place the seller's home in its best light to, make that great first impression. So not all agents do that. Some agents still take pictures with their iPhone, and granted, they take great pictures. Um, if somebody from California or North Carolina or Texas or they're looking at your home online, you want it to be shown in its very best light so that you get top dollar.
Right, and that's exactly what y'all provide. That's a service that you all provide for people, and that really helps set you apart. Like you said, I've been shopping for a home before, and those pictures just don't do it justice. So you make sure that your clients can put their best foot forward, so they're able to get people interested in buying the home. Another question that we have is my neighborhood has a range from 1,500 square feet to 3,300 square feet. What is the most square footage I can add onto my house before I'm losing out? Should I sell my home in the future?
So that's actually a great question. And in the neighborhood that you have 1,500 to 3,000 square feet, 3,300 square feet, that's a broad range for a neighborhood. So for years, you may have heard you don't want to be the biggest house in the neighborhood, nor do you want to be the smallest house. But if you had to choose between the two, it's better to be the smallest house than the biggest house. So as you add square footage, one of the things that you want to look at is what is the average, what is the median square footage of the houses in the neighborhood. And I would encourage you to stay around that number, but definitely don't go over the maximum square footage in the neighborhood. There comes a point where, let's just hypothetically say the homes in the neighborhood are selling for $100 a square foot. And please don't take that as to be that's what the average is in the market today, because there's some neighborhoods now selling at $200 a square foot. But if let's say the average was $100 a square foot and the average home was 2,000 square feet, if you run into a 3,000 square foot home, chances are instead of $100 a square foot, it's probably going to be $96, $97 a square foot. So there is a point where you start, because there's a max for the neighborhood. So stay in this, try and keep it in the median, the average for the neighborhood.
That's great advice. You don't want to be the smallest home, but you don't want to be the biggest home. So if someone signs up with you, will you be the only one representing them in the transaction, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller?
So I get that question a lot because I do run a very successful and large team. And what I've learned over the years is real estate, well, it's like when you go to a surgeon or a doctor. Chances are your surgeon is not going to be the one that checks you into, admits you into the hospital, nor is the doctor going to be the one that actually prepares you for surgery. He or she's going to be the one that actually does the surgery. And then after post-op, then somebody else is going to come in and and finish things up for you. I've found that running a team allows my team members, my staff to specialize in certain tasks. And because of that, we run a more efficient business and we're able to cross the T's and dot the I's more efficiently than a single agent that does not run a team. So we have people that specialize in making sure the property is marketed in the right channels. We have team members that specialize in making sure the paperwork is done correctly. We have people that specialize in just working with buyers or sellers. And we have people that specialize in making sure the property goes to closing. So when somebody hires me, my team, there is a main point of contact. And that point of contact is that team member that they initially talk to, and or of course I'm ultimately responsible, and if things are not going right, I want people to call me. Matter of fact, I give them my cell phone number, 601-941-2424, because the last thing I want to do is drop the ball. I want the consumer to have a great experience so that they'll refer their family and friends to us. So the last thing we want to do is drop the ball. We're not going to pass you around. You're going to have a primary point of contact, but if anything goes wrong, please contact me directly.
Great. And you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the tactics that you and your team will use to sell a home?
So there are several things that we do. We give our sellers options. We give our seller the option of we give them the option of convenience, assurance, and the ability to get top dollar. Using those options, I'm going to back up a little bit. So the marketing, we talked about the professional photography, videos, and tours and stuff like that. We also advertise on television, radio, billboards. We pay several $1,000s a month on Google to make sure that your property is featured there, as well as Zillow, Realtor.com, and other websites. We're going to put a sign in front of the yard that has a specific phone number to it. And so that as consumers, as they drive by, they can call or text that number. It's a 24-hour number. They don't have to talk to us, an agent. They can get the information on your home directly from that text or that number. It's a 24-hour recorded line. And through that line, they can opt to have a text sent to them with a virtual tour of the property as well. So we have so many avenues of marketing a property, including we're networked with the top 1% of the agents in every metro market across North America. So when we take a property in, when we list a property, we're actually promoting that property beyond the local borders of our state. We're actually promoting it all over the United States and the world. And we're actually specifically promoting to the top 1% of the agents across the nation.
Great. So you pretty much have all bases covered, whether it's text, social, website, radio, commercial, you're covered. And for those who are joining us, we are joined by Lee Garland of the Garland Group, eXp Realty. For more information, you can go to leewillbuyit.com. The number is 601-983-1130. So, and you kind of answered this before when talking about a team, but there is a question. Are you present when accompanying an open house, or do you send someone else?
So we always have a team member at the open house. And because the last thing we want to do is leave your house vacant. We want somebody there to monitor the traffic, to talk specifically about the benefits of the home, and to answer any questions a buyer may have, whether it's about the home or financing, the general process. And so then we can give you the feedback and let you know what was going on. But we never leave a house vacant or unattended. So we're always there.
Yeah, and speaking of questions of buyers, how much does the seller have to disclose to the buyer?
As far as the material, as far as the condition of the house, everything, everything. If there is something if a seller does not disclose something that they have knowledge of, the seller could be held liable for that. The buyer should always get a home inspection, and the buyer should always beware. But at the end of the day, if the seller intentionally conceals something from the buyer, that's just a bad thing. The seller should disclose everything they know, and just because nobody likes surprises.
Right. So, and then how do you communicate with your sellers and buyers? Does it differ or is it similar?
Very good question. I actually was on an appointment earlier today, and that was a big concern of the person I was talking to. And what we do with our sellers and buyers, any of our customers, clients, is we ask them, what is your preferred method of communication? Is it text? Is it email? Is it phone calls? Do we need to call you every day? Do we need to write you a letter? We want to know that what our client's preferred method of communication is, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to just, we certainly don't want you wondering what's going on. And if you want us to call you every day, we'll call you every day. If you say, no, 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 I don't need all of that, just give me an update once a week, we'll do that as well. But your preferred method is the way we're going to communicate.
Great. So you really tailor to what the client wants.
Correct.
Yes. So another question is, what happens if my home does not appraise? And what are some reasons that it wouldn't appraise? I don't know if they mean for the specific value that they were hoping for or not.
So we're actually seeing this a lot right now.
Oh, really?
The market is super hot. I mean, there are multiple offers on properties. People are actually contracting on properties for more than what they're listed at. And what we're finding is a lot of times they don't even appraise for the contract price. And so at that point, most contracts have contingencies in them that says that if it does not appraise, the buyer does not have to complete the purchase. Or you go back to the drawing board and you renegotiate. Now, sometimes the seller says, no, I'm not going to sell it for less than the contract price, and the buyer has a decision to make. Now, fast forward to today's market, that's the way it used to be, and the market's hot. So in today's market, we're starting to see buyers actually write in the offers that they will pay the difference between the contract price and the appraised value. In other words, they'll pay more than it appraised for. And if you're a seller thinking, hey, I got this, that sounds great, that's what I want, there's some specific language that needs to be put in that offer, that contract, to make sure you're able to get that. So if you're a for sale by owner, or you're dealing with an agent that is not very savvy on the terms that are needed, you could have a contract thinking the buyer's going to pay more, but there may be a loophole in there that prohibits that. And so a good agent's going to make sure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But it's not uncommon now for a home to sell more than it's appraised for. And the buyer still has a choice unless the language says the buyer will pay the difference.
Wow. Yeah, I hear it from a lot of people looking for homes in the market. I mean, it is a seller's market, and a lot of people do pay more than what the home, like you said, that the home's appraised for. So, like as a seller, how are they supposed to handle all these bids? What's the best way to handle a lot of bids coming in?
So I'm when I answer this, I'm probably going to make some people mad.
Okay.
But but when you hire an agent, you're hiring an agent to represent your best interest. And from a seller's perspective and a seller's agent, I would encourage my client, my seller client, to put their property on the market on a Thursday and let it be shown from Thursday till Monday morning. And on Monday, we pick a time that we review all offers. That way, we've had a lot of people look at the house and we've collected a handful of offers and we review them all at the same time and we respond to the best offer at that point. Now, when the market's not hot like it is today, you definitely want to respond to offers immediately. But in today's market, I believe it's best to collect a bunch of offers, review them, and then pick the one that's right for you. If you're a buyer, you hate what I just said. And so I'm sorry to the buyers out there that seems unfair. But remember, when you hire an agent, you're hiring that agent to represent you. And from a seller's perspective, it's in their best interest to look at multiple offers and not just one.
Right. And, the next question is a buyer allowed to ask the seller why they are selling? I don't know why they would do that in this quick, fast-paced market, but is that allowed to happen?
Certainly, they're allowed to ask. The seller doesn't have to answer why they're selling. And keep in mind, it really doesn't matter why the seller's selling. I mean, the seller has put their house up for sale. The better question is, why are you buying? And because at the end of the day, if the house meets your needs and it's in the price range that you can afford, does it really matter why the seller's selling? And I think probably the question stems from, are they selling because they don't like their neighborhood? Or are they selling because there's a commercial complex coming in down the street? Are they selling because, for instance, there's a neighborhood in Brandon where there's a processing plant and where they would refine cooking grease. Mm. And so there was a distinct smell for the neighborhood. Maybe that's why they were selling. They were tired of the way it smelled. So I think that may be where that question comes from sometimes. And if that would be a material defect, or that would be a problem that a seller would have to disclose. But if they're selling because they're moving to Kalamazoo, or they're selling because they're in a financial bind, or they got a job promotion, that really doesn't matter. But I get it. I mean, if there's something that is motivating the seller to sell as a condition of the property, you want to know that, and it's a fair question.
All right. And I think with this next question, I think you've answered it before, but do I need to reveal that I had to repair a water line that goes into my house from outside when listing my house?
The answer is yes. There is a property condition disclosure statement that every seller has to complete. Other than if it's an estate or a sheriff's sale or something along those lines. But if you're what we call a traditional seller, you must disclose what you know. You have to fill out a disclosure to what you know. So if there was a water leak or damage to a water line, you have to disclose that on that seller's disclosure.
Right. Well, I guess we'll take some Facebook questions. Okay, so for Mike Watkins, so I have found that mortgage brokers work better for people with lower credit than traditional banks. They seem to have lower thresholds for approval. Do you find that to be true as well? Which I know you're not a lender, so are you able to answer this question, or?
Yeah, I am. And so the reason mortgage brokers seem like they might have a better product is because when you go to a bank, you're dealing with that bank, that one financial institution. So they have basically one product to offer you. When you go to a mortgage broker, they may have 10, 15, 20 different products they can offer you, or different financiers that they can offer you. So they do have more options at times. The government does regulate all lending, so the rates and products should be similar, but a lot of times a mortgage broker will have more options because they're selling that loan to, or they're making that loan available to sell to multiple different lenders.
Great. And then I have another question from Amy Tucker. What if you have a bankruptcy on your credit report, but have a good credit score for getting a mortgage? And then a follow-up question would be, does it matter? Is it contingent on how old your bankruptcy is?
So a good credit score is always desirable. The bankruptcy, normally, if the bankruptcy is less than a year, and a lot of lenders say 2 years, if that bankruptcy is less than 2 years old, it's going to be difficult to get a loan. It's not impossible, but it's going to be difficult. And chances are you're going to pay a higher interest rate, or possibly even some points to get that loan, or origination fees to get that loan. The fact that you've got a good credit score with a bankruptcy normally would indicate that the bankruptcy happened long enough ago to where you're in good shape. FHA guidelines say that lenders can loan money with a 580 point credit score. So if you don't ask, you don't know. So what I would encourage you to do, instead of just guessing if you qualify or not, go ahead and contact a lender and see what they say. I think it's possible.
That's great. You hear that? Just go ahead and check. You don't know what you don't know, so you got to ask. Um, oh, we have April Smith Rushing here, EXP proud agent here. Happy to have you, Lee. Any agents reading this and want more info about EXP Realty and how we serve our clients, reach out to Lee or myself. Thank you for tuning in, April. And for more information, just make sure to go to leewillbuyit.com. And remember, the number is 601-983-1130. Let's see if we have any more questions. Oh, they're having a whole discussion here. I think you just picked up two more clients in this section. Thank you for being on top of it, April. Well, I think that's about it. Is there anything that you would like our viewers to know, that we haven't already covered before, about the Garland Group and EXP Realty?
Sure. Actually, I've got some exciting news, and it's one of the main reasons that I made the move to EXP. Is we we are starting our expansion. For a long time, I have just served the Jackson metro area. And now we are going beyond those borders, and we are actually going into the Hattiesburg market, the Gulf Coast market. We're going to be we're in the Vicksburg market. We're looking at going up into Louisville as well. And so we're expanding our territory here at the Garland Group. And we ran our first appointment in Hattiesburg just 2 days ago. So we're excited about being able to expand our borders, serve more clients. I've been doing this for over 25 years now, and I've had the privilege and honor to help to be part of over 10,000 real estate transactions, which is a lot of families, a lot of people we've had that privilege of helping. And now we're getting to take it beyond the borders of Jackson.
Well, congratulations, Lee. That is super exciting. Y'all heard it. He's expanding in Central and Southwest Mississippi. So you don't have to be just in the Jackson Metro to be a part of the Garland Group. Thank you all for joining us on Ask the Experts on WLBT Channel 3 on your side's Facebook page. I'm Martina Barksdale, and remember, go to leewillbuyit.com. Number is 601-983-1130. grow. Thank you for joining us, Lee.
Thank you, Martina. Have a great day.
You too.